everyone, what's up? Attacking Third is back at it again on Wednesday alongside Sandra Herrera. I'm Lisa Carlin. Sandra, we're doing this. We're going live on YouTube, and we like to do it. And today we got a lot that we're diving into, but we want to thank everyone for voting for us in the Football Content Awards. Attacking Third was nominated for the Best in Women's Football, and voting closed last week, I think on the weekend, October 13th. So if you voted for us, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sandra, did you tell all your friends to vote?
Yeah, I did my best to try to even make a little video to show people how easy it was to vote for us. So hopefully we'll hear some good news down the stretch.
I sure hope so. I like your kit. You're rocking that today. What are you wearing?
Yeah, so I'm rocking a Club Leon kit today. This is, I think, maybe going a few years back. I think it actually might be one of their specialty kits, but I had to go with a kid from the motherland. This is the state of Guanajuato's where my family's from. So
That's
going with this one.
cool.
I like kind of the design, So we're closing out all of
Yeah.
our Latin American History Month celebrations this week. So I'm like, let's go ahead and keep the theme going. But yeah,
The design on that is stunning.
it's kind of got like a lion design for Leon. So
I
I
like
was
it.
like,
That's
let's
really
go.
cool. I'm
Yeah.
rocking USL Super League Carolina Ascent because
Yeah,
I got to
you
go to my
are.
first game last night. And it was really fun.
I love
I liked
it.
it a lot. And it's a beautiful kit. So I figured bring
Yeah.
some bright sunshine to the show today. Guys, thanks for joining us. If you're with us live on YouTube, we appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to us because then you'll get alerts whenever we go live. And we've got US international games coming up and we go live after all of them. So subscribe, like this video, and let's rock and roll into Attacking Third. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third. It's Wednesday, so you've got Sandra Herrera. I'm Lisa Carlin, and we're bringing you everything from the world of women's football that you need to know. Sandra, we have a very big show today. We've got our countdown to Kansas City continues. We are talking the 2018 NWSL Final, and what would be a reminiscent talk about a final without an interview. So we've got North Carolina midfielder Denise O'Sullivan joining the show. Plus, we've got Northern Super League news updates. We've got Boston NWSL updates, and then our In Case You Missed It segment, everything else that we might not have talked about yet. How's it going, Sandra? Good morning.
Good morning. It's been a good start to the week. I would say there's a lot we got to get through. I'm so excited to continue the countdown to Kansas City. I've had so much fun living in the past with you, and honestly chatting with champions along the way. So I love that we're got another week going with
So many
this.
people say don't live in the past, be present where your feet are. But for us, it's a Wednesday regular.
Yeah, fake. I can't confirm it's awesome living in the past.
It is awesome. I want to live in the past for just a second. Last night, I went to my very first USL Super League game in person. I've watched online a lot and I've watched the games, but I got to head down to New York City and take in Brooklyn FC as they hosted Carolina Ascent. It was fantastic. Really cool to see all the supporters there. There were a lot of cheers in the crowd. It did end in a 1-1 draw. I was hoping for like a 3-2 victory there for Carolina Ascent. It didn't happen. I was looking for lots of goals, but we got 2 really good ones. And shout out to Brooklyn FC because after they scored their goal, it was an insane header goal. The celebration was the best celebration I think I've ever seen. And I got to see it in person.
Okay.
It was
I love
the
it.
entire team. So 9 field players stood together in like a huddle, and the goal scorer stood about 10 feet away and shot an arrow at the group, and they all fell down.
I love it.
So
I love
cute.
it. Hit the
So clever.
target.
So
Fun.
cute, so clever. I loved it. But I'm happy to be back inside now because it's just a little too chilly in New York. I mean, to be outside for 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night.
Oh
But
boy.
it was also a little chilly back in September 22nd of 2018, because that's where we're going. Jump in our time machine. It's our countdown to Kansas City as we revisit the 2018 NWSL Final. It took place between North Carolina Courage and the Portland Thorns. It happened at Providence Park in Portland, Oregon, Saturday, September 22nd, 2018, 4:30 p.m. Eastern kick. And the attendance, man, oh man, over 21,000 fans in attendance. 21,144 showed up at Providence Park. It does help because their home team, Portland Thorns, was in the final. It's no spoiler because it happened years ago. The North Carolina Courage defeated the Portland Thorns 3-0 to lift their first ever NWSL trophy, their first ever championship that North Carolina had won. Let's rewind how these teams got there into the playoffs. North Carolina finished the season in first place. They won the Shield, 17 wins, 6 draws, and just 1 loss. And they finished 2018 on 57 points. And that was the second straight season for North Carolina to win the Shield. 57 points, though, behind them in second place, but 15 points later was Portland Thorns, 12 wins, 6 draws, and 6 losses on 42 points. For North Carolina, it was forward Lynn Williams, who was second in the league in goals, but first on the team with 14. Jess McDonald, another forward on North Carolina Courage, 8 assists, and she was first in the league. For Portland Thorns, it was midfielder Lindsay Herrera who stole the show for the team. 13 goals that year, best for third in the league, and she was ended up named the league MVP that season. Midfielder Tobin Heath also on that side, 7 assists, second in the league. So to have these two meet in a final was going to be the best of the best, number 1 against number 2. And Sandra, we talked about it last week. Once we got to just a few years prior to this, you were at these finals. You were at every single one. So did you find your way to Providence Park in 2018?
Yes, I did. And honestly, I'm so glad that I did, because this probably at the time marked itself as maybe the more memorable of championship finals for me, after at this point already having gone to 2 in 2016 and in 2017. So there was a lot of buildup leading to this point. I think as we go back in time and recall some of these finals, we're starting to see some of that very organic rivalry develop between these two particular locker rooms. So we're talking about a semifinal meeting between this roster of players as the Western New York Flash against the Thorn in 2016, to meeting in the championship final as NC Courage and Portland Thorns just in the fall in the previous year in 2017. And now once again in 2018, they go head to head in a final. And this time it's at Providence Park. So there was, I remember, Lisa, just a lot of, hype billing around the top 2 teams going head to head, that it was going to be North Carolina Courage's final to lose because of the incredible run that they went on during 2018. But all these other circumstances that kind of came into place, the sort of challenges in front of them. I do remember the semifinal in 2018 getting relocated to Portland because of the effect of hurricane season that year. And due to safety for fans and players and traveling, they said, let's move that 2018 semifinal to Portland. And that way, whomever the winner is out of that semifinal between Chicago and North Carolina, they will have already be in Portland to sort of eliminate any extra travel. So they tried to make it as neutral as possible. But I think if you're North Carolina at this point, you're going to a rival city, you're playing in front of rival fans. There wasn't that much element of the whole pre-selected neutral site kind of advantage for them going into this one. So I think it played out perfectly in North Carolina's favor.
And even for North Carolina, they're supposed to host a semifinal, and they don't even get to do that. Now you're on the road for an extended period of time, and despite winning the league by a landslide, you don't get to host any playoff games, which bit of a setback. Hey, it didn't matter. Uphill battle for the Courage, and they still find a way to get it done. In the semis, it was North Carolina taking on the Chicago Red Stars. North Carolina goal in the opening 5 minutes by Jess McDonald. And then Sam Ewis found the second goal in the 86th minute. North Carolina defeat the Red Stars 2-0 in the semis. Meanwhile, Portland Thorns took on Seattle Reign in the other semifinal. Seattle gets on the board first, just before the 30-minute mark. Jasmine Spencer for Seattle scores. Now Portland is coming from behind. It's just before halftime, 43rd minute. Tobin Heath for the Portland Thorns finds the equalizer, and then Lindsey Herrera, the league MVP that year in the 77th minute, gets the game winner. Portland advanced to the final 2-1 over Seattle. It's Portland, North Carolina. Sandra, why don't you take us through North Carolina and how they rolled out their lineup for this 2018 NWSL Final?
For sure. Let's go through this very stacked roster. They had Caitlin Rowland holding things down as goalkeeper, Jaylene Hinkle, Abby Urseg, Abby Dahlkemper, and Merritt Mathias to close out that back line. Davinia, Denise O'Sullivan, Sam Mewis, Crystal Dunn as that box midfield. And then we saw Jess McDonald as a bit of a floater alongside Lynn Williams as well to kind of get things cranked in the attack.
And have continued for this long. Okay, so that's North Carolina. Let's look at Portland and what was wrong for the NWSL.
Yeah. Hey, Lise, I think you're coming in a little frozen, so I'm going to take over so that folks can make sure that they hear the starting 11 for Portland Thorns. They had Adriana Franch in goal, Megan Klingenberg to begin the back line, Emily Menges, Emily Sonnet, Ellie Carpenter, Lindsey Herrera, Celeste Bure, Tobin Heath, Christine Sinclair, Anna Cerna-Gorshevich, Caitlin Ford, to round out this starting 11. Folks, just to let you know, when I saw this starting 11 drop for both of these teams, when I was at the final in 2018, I said, this is going to be absolutely bonkers. It's going to be fireworks all the way through. Another little bit of intel as we welcome Lisa back into the show is that I went to this final in a media capacity. So there were events leading up to this moment. And I remember in the media day, Lisa, that the energies between these two teams were very different. It was in Portland, so they had it at the Nike campus out there in Beaver, Oregon. And North Carolina was very much about the business of getting to this final and getting things done. There was a lot of respect for the moment, a lot of respect for their opponent. And then Portland, they were feeling fun. They were feeling loose. They looked like the team that they didn't really have anything to lose. Like I mentioned that this was going to be North Carolina's final to lose. There was a moment in that media availability where they broke out from the media mix zone and ended up hopping over to a basketball court within the Nike campus. And we're just like shooting pop shot and stuff like that.
That's
So
cool.
the energies were very different. So when I saw these two starting lineups the next day, I was like, we're going to get some fireworks, man, because the energies between these two teams are like on complete opposite ends here.
That is so fascinating to think about, right? Like one team being at home, essentially, and one team being on the road. North Carolina, though, from the very first whistle, Sandra, they looked like they were going to win this game. It was dominating fashion, on a mission. That's such a great way to put it. It started fast and physical for North Carolina. They had a game plan going into it. I mean, not only was this roster stacked, but they have been doing it all year, moving quickly in transition, having a high press to win the ball back early. And the talent of the players on the group worked so well together. 13 minutes in, Brazilian international, the superstar Davinia finds the opening goal for North Carolina Courage. And then before halftime, Jess McDonald gets another one and doubles the lead for North Carolina. Heading into halftime, Portland is down 2-0 at this point. You think, okay, maybe some changes are going to come. There's going to be a little bit more to come in the second half. But the more that came, Sandra, was just more of the North Carolina train. Absolutely dominating, running all over. I mean, they looked like they had already won the game by the start of the second half specifically, and Portland looked like they had forgotten to show up a little bit. Ultimately, Jess McDonald gets her second goal, a brace in this final in the 64th minute, and the final goes 3-0 to North Carolina. When you think about the play during this match, what stands out to you when you remember it?
Just, I hate to keep reusing and rehashing this word, but just complete utter dominance. Not so much for North Carolina for the players getting out there and executing their tactics. Like at this point in this franchise's history, they play a specific way. Like, we know Sam Ewis and Denise O'Sullivan are going to be there in the midfield, making sure that things are getting handled and taken care of, creating, disrupting. We know that Jess McDonald and Lynn Williams are this tag team unit, but then they added in this extra layer of Crystal Dunn to the mix. Her first year arrival to the Courage. It wasn't so much them exerting their dominance. For me, it was also in the way in which they were doing it was taking Portland Thorns completely out of their element as well. Everything about this final, the fact that they were playing it in Portland, that they were going to be in front of Portland fans, the home field advantage, it felt like there should have been a better performance by the Thorns, and they just absolutely struggled to ever insert themselves or get a hold of the game. There maybe was a small stretch of time coming out of halftime where you try to play with a sense of urgency. But by the time this third goal comes in the hour mark, you can feel that there's absolutely no coming back in this game.
23 shots during this match for North Carolina, 14 to the Portland Thorns. Throughout this season for the Thorns, they had consistently found the back of the net. They had scored in 34 consecutive games, including the semifinal against Seattle and that 2-1 win. And North Carolina shuts them out. They snap that streak. And it was the first time in September 22nd of 2018 that Portland Thorns had been held scoreless at Providence Park since May of 2016. 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Portland had been able to score, find the back of the net, specifically at Providence Park. North Carolina was built different in 2018. Yep. Absolutely. They win their first NWSL championship in 2018. The sellout crowd of over 21,000 was the most attended of a women's pro soccer championship match in U.S. history. Now we think back, now we know in 2023, it had become 25,000, over 25,000. But this final, Jess McDonald with her brace, she was named MVP of this final match. And then the awards for the postseason come out after this final. Goalkeeper of the year goes to Portland's AD Fran. She had 45 saves and 3 shutouts that year. Defender of the year for North Carolina, Abby Erceg. She was the fewest goals allowed that year. It was held by North Carolina, and a lot of it having to do with Abby Erceg. And the MVP of the league, Lindsay Herrera, Portland Thorns midfielder, 13 goals, 2 assists, 18,000 minutes. Congrats, North Carolina. You did it. You won your first one. Guess what, guys? They do it again. They're also the first team to win the Shield and the championship in the same year. You might hear this again soon next week, but this was fun. Recapping the 2018 NWSL Championship. It wouldn't be complete without a player interview. North Carolina midfielder Denise O'Sullivan joins us next to chat about 2018. Hey guys, welcome back to Attacking Third. We are pleased to welcome in now Irish international, North Carolina Courage midfielder. She's a 3-time Shield winner, 2-time Challenge Cup winner, also a 2-time NWSL champion, Denise O'Sullivan. Denise, welcome in. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we are great. We're great because we're living in the past, and kind of it's fun to be here because 2018 NWSL Championship featured your team, North Carolina Courage, taking on the Portland Thorns in an absolute dominating fashion. The Courage win 3-0. You were a huge part of that team, that winning season, but specifically about that final, Denise, what do you remember?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was only with the team at the time for like a year and a half. And it was incredible. Just remember being in Portland, being part of the final was obviously absolutely amazing. Being in my second year with the Courage. But in the game itself, I just remember the Portland fans, like they were crazy in a good way. It was like an amazing atmosphere. It was like a game that was almost in Europe, like that kind of atmosphere, getting a lot of boos. And I love being part of that game. Just like teams booing us, fans booing us because we were good. We were so good at the time. So it felt really good. And then to go on and win the game was it was very special.
I love that you're touching on the game environment, because at this point in NWSL history, the typical trend is to announce a predetermined site for the NWSL championship. So you never know until you know. And in this season, the 2018 Courage went on an incredible run, and all of a sudden they found themselves having to play a championship final in Providence Park, where at this point in history, there's a bit of a rivalry between these two clubs. So maybe the concept of a neutral site isn't something that actually exists for you all mentally or anything going into this game, knowing that it might have been a little bit of a hostile crowd?
I don't think so. I think it made it more exciting, especially for me as a player, as an individual. I like being part of those environments. It's what we want to be part of, just the atmosphere in the stadium, the fans being rowdy, especially Portland fans. They hated us at the time. They still do. That's okay. But like, I love being part of that environment. It gets, especially for myself, it gets me hyped up. You want to be going in, winning tackles, winning challenges. It's just an exciting. So it didn't change anything for me, and I don't think it changed anything for the team at all. We were just very excited to be part of the championship again.
Denise, you've been a part of games where there are huge crowds on both sides cheering for you and cheering against you. Which one do you like more? Silencing a crowd that's booing you or getting a crowd louder?
That's a tough question. I think I like maybe both. I don't know. Obviously, we love our own fans, and playing here at the Courage at WakeMed is really special, especially when we have a full house. Having our own fans back us is really, really special. But as I said, that rivalry and having those fans that don't like you, that gets me going too. It gets me so hyped up for the game. So I would definitely say both.
I love that. And we hear that pretty often. I think sometimes when we chat with players, especially when we're recapping kind of like this first decade or era of NWSL, that there was part of this lore around going to Providence Park as the opposing team, because you wanted to have that experience of like the big crowds and maybe kind of knowing that you can go up against a little bit of a hostile crowd. And I mean, what a performance, because your team ends up with an incredible scoreline, a 3-0 shutout for this championship victory. I mean, we're already talking about all of the environment around this day. So what did the celebrations look like and feel like for you as you all won this championship?
I mean, when the final whistle went, we just celebrated so hard because, as I said, the fans were like die hard, and we went and dominated the game. So it was really special to be there and do that. I was loving every moment of it. But I remember all of us just came together at the end of the game. It was obviously great to win, and we were all just such a close-knit team, and to celebrate with each other was really special, and to be in Portland and do it in front of their fans was nice.
Denise, that was the second trophy that team had won that year, because for the first time ever, the same team had won the NWSL Shield and then the championship. And you guys just didn't like squeak by and win the Shield. You crushed it. You were 15 points above the second place team, which was Portland Thorns. And then, of course, you win the NWSL championship. What was it about this group, whether it was the camaraderie off the field, how close-knit you were, or actually the style of football that you played, that allowed that to happen for the first time ever?
Yeah, I think there was a number of factors. I think we had world-class players. I mean, we were absolutely stacked. We had Sam Ewis, we had Crystal Dunn, we had Davinia, we had Jess Mack, Lynn Williams. There was so many players on that team that were just world-class and complemented each other really well. And I also think, we were a close-knit side, and we showed up to training every day with a really good mentality. And I think we just wanted to get the job done. And we were so focused on just showing up and getting better. And I think we never really spoke about the championship throughout all the seasons. Like, it didn't come out of our mouth really as players. We just wanted to enjoy it and enjoy the everyday and the hard work, and that will get us places. And I think that showed in the end.
How would you describe the style of football you guys played that year?
I think it's different. I think we were a different team to what we are now completely. I think back then, and even when I first came into the league, it was all about transition. And I think we were a transition team then. I think we had players like Lynn, we had Jess. We were a very high pressing team. Every single moment we would press really high, win the ball up high, and then go. So I think we were very transitional at the time, for sure.
I was going to say something that has been really fun for me going down memory lane is looking at some of the tactical things, and we really start to see in 2018 at this the cementing of what is this Courage team. We see that box midfield. We see you helping to regulate things in that middle third. Sam Mewis doing incredible things. You touched on Lynn Williams and Jess McDonald as well. And Lisa rightfully points out this very big gap between first place and second place for this Shield win. But something that also I'm reminded of in this 2018 final is that it wasn't necessarily an easy journey for this team, even though all of these numbers behind it maybe look like it was. And I recall in 2018 how the semifinal that you all played in got relocated to Portland due to hurricanes, and then you ended up staying for the final. So there were some things that this locker room had to go through. What do you remember about having to navigate this kind of complex postseason after achieving what you all achieved during the regular season?
Yeah, it was crazy. As you said, we did go through a lot that year as a team, went through a lot of adversity, especially with that semi-final being relocated. I mean, you're supposed to be playing at home, a real advantage playing at home, and then the semi-final gets moved. So it was definitely crazy, but I will always come back to the mentality of the team. It was pretty high back then, and just having that kind of season was really special. But yeah, postseason, you're thinking we have to go and do this again. It puts more pressure on you, but that's what you want as players, and that's why we do it. We want to win. We want to win championships. So it was definitely a very special team.
You've touched a lot about all the superstar players on this roster. You can't forget yourself, Denise. Come on now. We're giving you your flowers here. You just got to accept them because you were also part of this. But we had the pleasure of speaking with Jess McDonald a few weeks ago for one of our other segments that we did. And I mean, she's the best. She's a character. She goes in hard for tackles. And in this championship game specifically, she ends up with a brace. And the goals that she scored, holy cow, she's like coming in out of nowhere to get these done. She ends the year leading the league with 8 assists. She gets the brace in the final. But what do you remember about Jess in 2018? Was there a moment or a goal that happened where you're like, oh my goodness, and like she does it? Because watching her, there are so many moments for me like that.
Yeah, I mean, Jess was incredible. She still is, but I think I just remember Jess from the minute I came to the Courage, like on the pitch, but also off the pitch, how welcome she made me feel, how much like she was a fantastic leader. And then on the pitch, she was incredible. She was technically gifted. She scored a lot of goals. She was strong. She was quick. She was a pressing, like her presence up top for us, pressing off the ball was absolutely phenomenal. So I always looked up to Jess when I played with her, and she really took me under her wing as well and helped me, become comfortable in the team.
So looking ahead a little bit, Denise, we don't want to eat too much more of your time. You've already given us so much. Here we are in 2024. You are a face of this franchise. 7 years later, still with the Courage, and this team has found themselves once again potentially in the hunt for another championship. They've already clinched a spot in the postseason. In your journey with this club and in the league specifically, from 2018 now to 2024, how would you say the level of football has perhaps changed in the league?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're starting to get a lot more international players coming in. I think it's really up in the standard and the level of this league. It's becoming really, really good. But when I first came into this league, I think I touched on it. It was a very transitional league, and I do see teams slowly starting to become more technical. And I think coaches want their teams to play more. And I think we're an example of that here at the Courage, the way Sean wants us to play. I think we are a possession-based team. We want to play football, and we want to pass the ball and play a beautiful game. But I also see other teams doing that also. You see the ex-Barcelona coach coming into Washington, and he's trying to transform Washington as well into this team that is a passing team. So I think I do see the league going more in that direction. I mean, there's still a lot of teams with high level players that can play the transition game, and they're really, really good at it. So that's the style they're going to stick to. But I do also see other teams starting to try and play possession based football in this league for sure.
It's really fun to have watched this evolution of the NWSL go from being so physical and so transitional to still having elements of that, but really teams being able to wield them in certain positions and areas and moments of the game when they can, and they can take advantage of it. North Carolina was on the forefront of taking this league into being more possession oriented, and a lot of that going to Sean Nahas, but a huge testament to the players, right? Like, because you've had to also adjust your game and develop and change into so much of that. So we're talking about this 2018 North Carolina Courage team. And it's fun to think about that team then in its prime, everything that was happening, and how they would fare today in the NWSL. So 2018, North Carolina, Shield winner, NWSL champions against 2024 Orlando Pride, Denise. Who wins?
You can thank your teammate, Jess McDonald, for this question.
I'll take us all day. 2018.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I have to say that. I mean, for sure. I mean, credit to Orlando. They've transformed. That club has really come on heaps and bounds. Barbara Banda has done amazing things there, and also Marta. You can see Marta; she's had the best season of her life, I think, in this league. But I definitely would take us 2018 over them for sure.
I love it, Denise. I kind of knew you were going to say that, but I love it. It's true.
It's hard to disagree.
I know it's impossible for that to happen, but I want that game to happen so bad.
Let me see it.
Maybe
we can get simulator or something. We'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah, there's AI out there. Okay, Denise, attacking third, we are creating a playlist, adding music to it that we get and suggestions from players just like you to our own personal attacking third playlist. So I've got to know, what is one song that is on your pregame playlist or that you constantly find yourself listening to right now that we've got to add to ours?
Drake, Back to Back.
Oh,
Came ready. I love that.
Absolutely love it.
Gets me so hyped.
I love it. We're adding it to ours. We're going to play it before shows, play it before we do things. Denise O'Sullivan, thank you so much. Good luck the rest of the way with North Carolina this year. Keep going. Keep fighting. Excited to watch you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Nice to speak to you guys.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Plenty more attacking third when we get back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. Denise, thanks. That was awesome. Really fun to have you joining with us. She's still with us if you're watching. There we go. Okay, Sandra, we had big news coming this week from our friends and our neighbors to the north. The Northern Super League teams have announced their logos for all 6 of their clubs. So the NSL is Canada's professional women's soccer league. It kicks off in April of 2025. There will be 25 games, the season ending in November. And there are 6 founding clubs from key markets, and they've announced their names and their logos. And these are pretty cool. Take a look at some of them. Let's start with Calgary Wild FC. They've got this awesome owl feature. They're going with the red and the purple. Pretty freaking cool, Sandra.
Love it. I like a lot of these crests, but this one I think has a fun twist on it. I like that they're going with wild. I like that they're incorporating an animal. Good stuff from them.
Okay, Halifax Tides FC. This one, I did read about these all because, I just have to. That's how I prep for these shows. And this is supposed to be the front of a boat. How cool is that? Don't you see it now?
I love it.
Absolutely. It's
It
super
makes
cool
sense.
with the X and the waves. Tides. It makes
Gotta
sense.
get through it.
Halifax Tides rolling out. Then we have the Montreal Roses. Montreal Roses FC. The crest with the gold name and this purple indigo colored rose.
The color scheme is popping out for me. I like the gold and the kind of indigo hues. It's giving Seattle rain. I'm not gonna lie. It's somehow oddly giving Seattle rain and Portland for me because it's like roses. Obviously I'm making the connections but I like this one.
I also thought of Portland Thorns with the roses. It's just so synonymous with the thorns and roses. Okay, Ottawa Rapid FC. This is a falcon on their logo. It is a bit more of a circular logo than more of a crest, but the light blue, Ottawa Rapid.
This is a front runner for my favorite, but I'm someone that likes simple. So I'm like, I like just the outline. I love a bird too. Like, obviously I'm talking about the owl with Calgary. Now I'm like, oh no, a falcon. So I really like this one too. Plus I'm just like I like blue hues. So anything that's got blue in it, I'm like, I love it.
Sandra's like, this makes me happy.
It does.
AFC Toronto. They rolled out with this really cool circular logo with then a crest in the middle with a T. It's the same red color as Toronto FC in the MLS. So a little bit of symmetry there between the women's professional and the men's professional team that's going to be taking place in Toronto.
Almost too simple for me, Lisa. Whereas I'm like, I like simplified things. I don't know. It's also like Toronto, like they are like this sports type of city. And I was looking for a little bit more. I like the color schemes, but it almost sort of feels like a first draft.
Oh, I could see that. I see that. It is very like symmetrical, straight lines, the circle. Yeah, I see that. Okay, last one. Vancouver Rise FC. This one is a crest with mountain range on top, a little bit of a star feature coming to the FC. How do you rate this one?
I really, really like this one. It's probably for me, maybe the toughest one out of all of the images that we've seen. We got the mountains going on. We've got like what looks like a rising sun. They're ready to come and compete. That's what this one is giving me. So I really like this one.
Okay, so is this your favorite of them?
I might put it like number 2. If I'm gonna go like top 3, I'll go like Ottawa, Rise, and then Calgary.
Ottawa, Rise, Calgary. Okay, I'm looking at them, so that's why I was talking through that. I think Calgary is my favorite. It is really fierce. It has an element of simple to it, but it also has the colors that pop and are pretty unique colors that you don't often see together, with a very bright red and then like a navy. Would you call that navy? I can't necessarily tell. With the owl, it's subtle. The W is in there. The W is for the wild, and the 5 points are for the founding 5, which are the women in Calgary. I'm telling you, I did read about these. I like this
stuff.
one.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. No, I'm excited to see the merch. Like that, I think that's the most important thing about this rollout. Like that there's a lot of excitement around it. I haven't seen too much, like simple slander, like, oh, this one's too simple or this one's too loud. Like it seems to be generally positive. And I think that's always a good sign. Like when you have this type of rollout and people are ready for the merch, I think that says a lot.
I totally agree. The names are pretty cool too. The Wild, Tides, Roses, Rapid, AFC Toronto, and then Rise. Pretty cool names, pretty cool crests. Way to go, Northern Super League. We're excited to watch you kick off next April. Let us know which crest, which logo you liked the best from the NSL. These were all creative. Then we got some news out of the NWSL that took creativity to a different page. We're going to dive into it. Don't go anywhere. Our In Case You Missed It segment coming up next. Hey everyone, welcome back. In case you missed it, we got ourselves a Sandra bomb this week. She did it. If you don't know what a Sandra bomb is, it's when Sandra Herrera breaks news. Follow her on Twitter, follow her articles on cbssports.com because she did it this week. NWSL is having their 15th and 16th clubs arrive in the league in just a few years. They've announced Boston as the 15th club location. And finally, out of Boston, we got the news of their name. BOS Nation FC will be the NWSL's 15th expansion team, slated to come in 2026. Controlling owner Jennifer Epstein, who is family owners of the Celtics, and actor and investor Elizabeth Banks shared this news yesterday on CBS Mornings, or it happened Monday, CBS Mornings, and why they believe now is the time to bring women's soccer to Massachusetts, saying that women's sports are peaking. Sandra, you broke this news for us. Congrats. Thanks, bud. Thanks for bringing it to us. Tell us more about it.
Well, it's definitely an ongoing news story. It sort of feels like now, Lisa, and we're gonna get into the weeds a little bit, with this, because there's been a lot of public reaction to the rollout. Really, I think that's where we're at. Broke the news that this franchise would go by BOS Nation Football Club, and the rollout was going to include a marketing campaign targeted towards the Boston area with a website and slogan referenced too-many-balls.com. So there was a lot of reaction to this when I broke this Monday afternoon, and then we saw the official announcement happen Tuesday morning. And there has also since been a fan event that was supposed to sort of mark this next phase of NWSL Boston's existence. But we saw, again, a lot of different types of reactions. I think maybe mentioning that reactions to this rollout were mixed is putting it politely. And, I think, as we see now in the following days, as the news cycle works, we're starting to see some other things come into place, where we are now noticing that the creative agency that was hired to do this has kind of scrubbed some of their work in their rollout video. We have now seen that website that was launched has an expired link. So folks are now reacting to that, not just the name and the rollout. And the event from last night went on as planned. Sources that I've spoken to around the event did mention that at one point it was advertised that Sam Ewis would be involved in that event. She was not there in that fan celebration event. They did have Charlie Davies, say some words, as he played in the area some time ago with MLS side Revolution. So again, I think it's a mixed bag here that we're kind of looking at, Lisa.
The story was supposed to be that there is a name, BOS Nation, but since then, the story that has emerged as most prolific is the fact that the campaign, No More Balls, has taken a turn for the worst. There's been a lot of backlash about it. People not liking that rollout campaign. The rollout features professional teams around Boston, indicating that they don't want any more men's sports teams. No reference to the fact that there was a professional women's team there in the WPS and the NWSL, formerly the Boston Breakers. No mention of that. And also no mention of the other women's professional teams that are in Boston, right? You look at the Boston Fleet, the women's professional hockey team, Hillary Knight, who is an American women's ice hockey forward captain at the Boston Fleet. She tweeted and said, "Hey, at NWSL Boston, can we be friends?" There is a lot that have come out about the rollout and just disregarding all of the eyes, all of the people that are involved in the NWSL and what this league represents, whether it's trans folks or women in general, and saying no more balls, and men, right? There are so many men allies and men supporters of this group. There have also been a lot of backlash on social media from players, fans, journalists about the name specifically, right? You mentioned Sam Ewis there, who former U.S. International World Cup winner. She put out a tweet that said, "As a Massachusetts native, I really want NWSL Boston to succeed. I also want to shout out PWHL Boston, which is the Boston Fleet, the hockey team, Beantown RFC, the professional women's rugby team, and the Renegades, the Women's Football Alliance, and existing women's pro sports teams that are here to support. Quinn, a very public trans player in the NWSL with Seattle, made comments as well saying, hey, what about us? Saying that transphobia shouldn't be hidden. And if they call that out, that this doesn't represent the league and it is tough messaging and poor messaging. And with this rollout, NWSL Boston tagged the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Revolution. No mention, of course, of the other women's teams. There have been a lot of fans kind of stating their opinions as well. And this has happened before, Sandra. When Racing Louisville came into the NWSL, they originally were going to be called the Louisville Proof. Yeah. And there was a bit of backlash there too, right? No one even remembers that. It is now Louisville. We know them as Racing Louisville. Even you think back to the Houston Dynamo, they were originally Houston 1836 for the first couple weeks. So this happens. This happens all the time in sports. What is the next step potentially? If you were the head of PR at BOS Nation, Sandra, what would you advise them on their next steps?
Well, first of all, if I'm the head of PR for Boston, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this, and B, I don't think I want this job. But I will say that I think that's the silver lining in all of this, right? Is that Boston, unlike previous expansion sides, they have had to date the longest run up and build up as an expansion franchise to enter the league. Their arrival is set for 2026, and I think the silver lining in this is that others, like you mentioned, have made mistakes when it comes to branding and logos and developing an identity. And that silver lining is that they have the time to kind of maybe quote unquote make those mistakes. So whether they try to think of a new marketing campaign or a new name altogether, I think we'll see. But I would imagine that based on the feedback and the reaction, that they at the very least are open to that and maybe going to recognize that there is a run up here. The other thing about that, Lisa, is you have to run down, the course of those mistakes, because the truth is no one really remembers those things or talks about those old regrets too much anymore. And so that's also going to be an opportunity here. So I think eventually there's going to be a window of time here where they flip this on its head and maybe view it as a bit of a fumble, but an opportunity to maybe kind of bounce back. And I think that is actually a very Boston type of storyline to follow, the comeback.
As a Philadelphian, Boston fumbles. Bye.
There it is.
I should mention that BOS Nation came from rearranging the letters of Bostonian. It is an anagram of Bostonian. That's how they came up with it. We'll keep you updated on what comes out of BOS Nation or the NWSL team coming to Boston. Some other news we have to talk about. Jonas Edeval has officially resigned as Arsenal's head coach. Renee Sledgers, the assistant coach, will take over as interim. Arsenal is in 6th place in the Barclays WSL. They suffered a 5-2 loss to Bayern last week in Champions League, and then on the weekend, 2-1 loss to Chelsea. We will talk about this more in studio. Out of Angel City, at defender and NWSL veteran Merritt Mathias has announced her retirement after a 12-year career. Mathias has been a part of the NWSL in the very first match for FC Kansas City back in 2013. She's got 196 caps, 3-time NWSL champion, 3-time Shield winner. She has been a consistent advocate on and off the field, working with the NWSLPA to write up the CBA, to put in place protections for players. And Merritt Mathias says goodbye to the game with Angel City on October 20th. Some other big news. Yeah, huge congratulations to Merritt Mathias. Thank you for continuing to carry this league forward. Some other big news out of Angel City. They a few weeks ago, the NWSL fined the club and announced a 3-point deduction for Angel City's violation of multiple league rules, including exceeding the salary cap. Angel City came out with a statement about their punishment that was handed down, saying, quote, "While we respect the league's authority to enforce its rules, we have expressed our disappointment about the competitive sanctions, particularly the 3-point deduction." Angel City makes the argument that under the league's salary cap rules, childcare payments do not count, and they requested a reconsideration. the league came back and said, reconsideration, you violated the league cap rule. There were 5 side letters that were quoted in the league's fining of Angel City. And there are 2 moms on Angel City. Sandra, anything I'm missing from that news?
Sounds like you write it down, and sounds like another bit of news that folks are reacting to.
Some other big news. We are on the verge of an international break. NWSL has got some Lionesses, England national team call-ups. Gotham defender Jess Carter, Orlando goalkeeper Anna Morehouse, and Washington defender Esme Morgan all get the call-ups. A lot of players celebrating 100 regular season games in the NWSL. Kristen Press, Casey Murphy, Tyler Lucy, and Kaylee Kurtz. 2 claps for those players. So proud of you. Keep grinding. And
Congrats.
Also, the BBC Women's Footballer of the Year nominations have been revealed. Orlando forward Barbara Banda, Barcelona forward Aitana Bonmati, San Diego defender Naomi Girma, Barcelona forward Carolyn Graham-Hansen, and Portland forward Sophia Smith. You like these noms, Sandra?
I love these noms. I love that a handful of them are playing in NWSL.
Me too. Let's rock and roll, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Tomorrow, Attacking Third is back in studio. We have a lot that we are talking about, expanding on more things that we touched on in today's show. You're not going to want to miss it. Watch us on Golazo Network at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, so much for joining us. Make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast and leave us a 5-star rating and review. You can also watch us, youtube.com/Attacking Third, and on the CBS Sports Golazo Network for all your women's football coverage. For Mark and Sandra, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.